Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we come to transform ourselves and each other and the world. So good to see you this morning. You are welcome to take your video, turn your video on throughout the service. We're going to try that. If you're comfortable with people seeing you, we would love to see you live in person. Let's all unmute our audio also for a few moments just now to say hello and hear each other's voices. Hello. Hello, hello. Good morning. Hey. You can see the order of service by following the link in the chat. Lots of stuff going on today and this week, and information there for you for beyond the service as well as during. I particularly want to invite anyone who has questions about our safe parking program to stay in this Zoom room after the service and speak with Christopher Can and Christy Iverson at noon. I have the great pleasure of introducing a new staff person today. When I called one of John Wright's references for the job of membership and engagement coordinator, she started out by saying, "John is one of my favorite people in the whole world." I and the others who interviewed him were not surprised to hear it. We enjoyed our time with him so much. We found him thoughtful and warm and humble and humorous. He knows churches and how they work, having been a pastor himself for several years. He loves to meet people, and he knows how to listen. And now I will let him tell you a little bit more about himself. John, on behalf of us all, welcome.
Thank you, Amy. To the parish minister, to the members of the ministerial team, to all of the staff members, board members, members of the broader community, those I can see and those I cannot see, to all of those who make up the hopeful mix of humanity that is this community. It is with my heart in my hands that I come to serve in this community, and I am grateful for the opportunity that is mine to do so. You wouldn't know it by looking at him, but he really didn't know how to read or write. I learned this by sitting in the back seat watching him as the police pulled him over one dark evening. The police officer presented him with a much-earned speeding ticket. The officer told him to sign his name. He took the pen from the strong hand of the officer and struggled to try and draw what looked like an X to me. The officer looked puzzled, but he let us go. This unsophisticated, unlettered man was my great-grandfather. I remember him this morning, and I honor him this morning as I come to greet all of you. I greet you in this manner because of the generous and gracious way that he greeted me almost every time I saw him. Here's what he would do. First of all, he would tell me where he had just come from, where he'd been, usually working, cutting yards in wealthier neighborhoods across town. Then he would tell me what he brought for me: candy, money, sometimes just a promise. And finally, he would tell me what he needed from me. He wanted me to study hard, do good in school, be good to my brothers and sisters. I come to greet you this morning in a very similar way. Where have I been? Good question. I'm glad you asked. For the last year and a half, almost two, I've been home, like you. I've been partnering with my wife, Tammy, parenting my daughter, Maddie. Maddie and Tammy are my greatest teachers. I am at least an unwitting and sometimes unwilling student. What do I bring to this community? I bring a love of life, a love of laughter, and a love of language. I've learned from reading and living to lead with vulnerability, and I believe myself to be extremely teachable. I ask you to teach me. What do I need from you? A simple openness and a willingness to engage. I shared last night with Amy, and I now confess to you, that while I am extremely excited, and I hope you hear and see that, I am just a little bit less than extremely terrified to be here and to be doing this job. My fears run the gamut. I'm afraid that I won't be. But while I work on them, I also pledge to you that I will show up. I'll show up and tell you where I've been. I bring my history with me. I'll show up and I'll tell you what I've brought for you and hope you find it meaningful as well. I'll show up and tell you, hopefully consistently, what it is we need from you. I thank you for the opportunity to serve you. And I don't know if my fears are real or not, but in the words of Toni Morrison, she put these wonderful words in the mouth of one of her characters. What difference does it make if what you're afraid of is real or not? Thank you. I look forward to seeing, meeting, greeting all of you. Come and go with us on this journey.
John, it's wonderful to have you here. Everyone, please take the opportunity to meet John in our online coffee hour after the service today or soon, and make sure to let him know if you're new. That's a big part of his job going forward, is greeting new people, and at the moment, everyone is new to him. We also have a video visit today from our August Justice Partner. We don't have a video visit from our Justice Partner. Well, I'd like to make them the recipient of our offering anyway. So let me tell you just a little bit about Ada's Cafe. There's information there in your order of service, but I wanted you to know that if we were in person, Ada's, which is our near neighbor, their staff would be bringing pastries around to us at coffee hour. Obviously, they can't do that, but we can go to them. I'll be stopping by there after our Q&A about safe parking today and picking up something for the ride home, so maybe I'll see you there at Ada's. And now, let us begin our service. If you have a chalice there with you, please light it along with me as Sarah speaks the words of our chalice lighting, which are offered by the Igreja Unitaria do Rio de Janeiro, Unitarian Community of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
We light this flame as a reminder of our mission to be light to the world, in unity with those who came before us, with whom we are a spiritual family. May we commit ourselves to building a free community beyond geographical boundaries and personal beliefs. May we be a welcome to those who need it the most. Amen. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from the podcast, Welcome to Night Vale. Death is only the end if you assume the story is about you.
As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, let us become centered and fully present in this place together. Please join in as Bruce leads us in singing, I Wish I Knew How.
To be free, then I'd sing 'cause I know
Can you hear me now? Thank you to our hardworking tech crew. They're getting a lot of glitches thrown at them this morning. We now turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like me to speak this morning, please send your joys and sorrows to joyconcern@uucpa.org or post them in the chat box provided by Zoom, and they will be shared aloud. As we begin, and with the gracious permission of its author, Marin Tirabassi, I share this prayer for Afghanistan. Will you join me? God of many names, the generous, the all-merciful, the source of peace, we pray in thanks for Afghanistan, land of pomegranates and grapes, birthplace of Rumi, and I am the beggar of the world, land days of contemporary Afghan women. We celebrate people, Tajik and Hazaras, Uzbek and Pashtun. We hear tabla, sitar, santur, tabor, flute, and watch the atan danced. We gaze upon art, ancient and new, miniatures, and the weaves of rugs like no other in the world. All earth opens its hands and receives the gifts of Afghans. And all the people pray, each in their own many names and words, for safety of Afghans in these days. Seeking evacuation in the airport, moving quickly on the street, hiding in homes, wondering about schools. For those who evacuate and for those who wait for what is next. For those who are foreign nationals and those bone deep with history in the hills. For faithful journalists still reporting and medical facilities desperate for blocked supplies. For Sikh and Hindu communities and their holy places. For the welcome of Australia and Uganda and families across the ocean and near at hand grieving loved ones lost. Life, body, mind in the long war. For the Afghan elder who has seen much, and the child born today who will grow up to give a new gift, we pray, O compassionate, O preserver. Amen. Hopeful futures. We have heard them with compassion. Let us now hold them with our care. Blessed be. Our next song, Return Again, is around, and if you sing part 1 as Bruce begins part 2, and then continue around, vice versa, you will hear some wonderful harmonies there, wherever your screen is. So let's join in as Bruce leads us in singing Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
I see that there are 3 categories of needs that must be fulfilled to have relatively efficient time management. These are physical needs, entertainment, and goals. Physical needs are things like sleep and food. Seems like a no-brainer, but we can lose sight of this in times of stress. For example, a lot of high schoolers, including my past self, skimp on sleep every day. It may seem like we are saving ourselves trouble by skipping fulfilling all our physical needs, but in reality, the physiological stress it causes hinders our ability to do our daily mental and physical tasks. Entertainment is anything that is fun for us, whether or not that fits the typical definition of entertainment, like books or movies. Entertainment is important because working is often much harder and slower when we haven't had fun in a while. For a couple of months last year, I tried to only study after school in the afternoon and evening with no breaks for fun because I wanted to get as much done as possible. But this ended up having more detrimental than positive effects because it became harder to focus and I was much less excited about doing my work. I sometimes even dreaded it. Nothing can do good for your mental and even physical health like some fun. Goal needs should also be met. We might not complete things exactly on time or otherwise mess things up a little, but that is human nature. What we need to do is keep our eyes on the goals we want to achieve. It may be very fun to completely distract ourselves from our goals by doing anything but what's on the to-do list. But as you probably already know, the happiness experienced during procrastination is usually not as great as the happiness from completing what you have to do. I certainly experienced this in middle school when I procrastinated by reading fun books instead of doing my homework and was worrying about completing my homework the whole time. Once I completed my homework, I was very relieved. So eventually I began to do my homework first. There are times when we can't meet all 3 of these needs. The circumstances certainly vary from person to person, but it is a difficult situation no matter what, and is often hard to get out of. We may need to reduce our goals, pay more attention to our physical needs, or even enjoy more of the forms of entertainment that we like the most. It can feel unnatural at first to change. For me, it felt wrong to quit some of my extracurriculars to get enough sleep. But it is truly the best life when we can achieve time efficiency and the balance and happiness it is associated with.
There are these computer games I really like. The object in them is to do something like clear a road or build a castle, and there are lots of tasks that you have to do along the way. Like you're going to have to build a sawmill and a quarry, and you're going to have to build up your headquarters so there's room for more workers, and you need to know which of those things to do in what order and how much to upgrade them so as to make the best use of your resources, foremost among them your time. There's bonuses you can collect, but you can't collect them all, so you have to decide which ones are worth getting and which ones are just kind of a waste of your resources. If you complete the tasks quickly and in the right order, you can finish before night falls on your screen. For this reason, this type of game is called a time management game. The fact that I have spent hundreds, possibly more than 1,000 hours of my life at an endeavor called time management is an irony that is not lost on me. For this and other reasons, I am nobody's idea of a time management guru. I procrastinate. I write lists of must-do tasks that then stare at me reproachfully while I do other more enjoyable ones. My sins against the good principles of time management could go on for a very long time. However, I think this gives me something of a good vantage point for you. With my nose pressed up against the glass of that exhibit of people with good time management skills, I notice some things that maybe can help you. And I want you to know that in this sermon, I am not going to say, don't have fun, don't do trivial things, don't make yourself more efficient. These are all great. They're very important. Sarah has reminded us that doing things that are supposedly unimportant, like entertainment, is important. And accomplishing things efficiently makes us feel fabulous. All of that's true. So let's look at this big rocks idea. Maybe not new to you. It's a helpful one if you haven't encountered it before, and if you have, it's probably a good refresher. I don't know if Stephen Covey, who we saw in our reading, was the first person to use this image, but I like his version. Many other versions have morals that I think miss the point and misuse this metaphor. For example, sometimes they emphasize the idea that when you think you've filled your time, you can still squeeze something in. The demonstrator will put rocks in, and then gravel, and then you say, is it full? And the audience says, yes, it's full. And then the demonstrator pours in sand. Look at that, it still fits. Is it full now? Yeah, it's full. No, you can pour water in. They seem to be saying, cram more in, cram in more. That's the thing you should do. I don't think that's the right moral. Sometimes they suggest that if you just prioritize, you can do anything. In fact, that is a direct quote from one such video, that there is nothing you can't do. I don't think that's such a good moral to take away either. They don't really prioritize space, the need for time when we do nothing, when we lie fallow like a field that has produced so much in the last year that it just needs to rest and recover. That could be one of your big rocks, of course, time to rest. That would maybe be a good way to approach that need for space. And oftentimes, those who are quoting the big rocks metaphor are gearing their minds and ours entirely toward making us more efficient workers. Stephen Covey, in contrast, is guided by deep spiritual and moral values, and he encourages us to include things like service and relationships and a spiritual life along with work among our big rocks. But even the version that we just saw, I think, presents some problems. It suggests that it will all fit if you just do it in the right order, or if you make sure to do the important things, give the important things their time. All the rocks always fit. There's not any left there on the table. Even all the tiny gravel fits. Is this your experience? It's not mine, even when I'm really managing my time well. And if we're constantly told that if we just managed our time better, if we worked smarter, not harder, if we put the big rocks in first, then we'd be able to fit at least all the big rocks, maybe even all the gravel, then we're really stuck on that hamster wheel. We're blaming ourselves if we can't catch up, because everything is saying you can catch up if you just do things right. Everything about productivity culture will tell us that we can fit in everything important if we just arrange our time right. Even as our work days get longer and longer for the same compensation. Even as our school days lengthen. They were 6 hours one generation ago. From my school day to my daughter's, the day has lengthened by 80 minutes, a 22% increase. Even as a living wage is out of reach for most people in the world, and many in this country, unless they are spending almost every daylight hour at toil, and sometimes even then. Even as the minimum wage falls in real money year after year, and it takes decades of fighting over legislation just to restore it to what it was before we started the fight. It's just not right to tell people that all they need to do is prioritize. But I told you I'd tell you how to fit it all in. So here's the moment where the secret is revealed. Are you ready? The secret is you can't. It doesn't all fit. The things that are important, they don't all fit in the 24 hours in a day. They don't all fit in the 4,000 weeks during which we draw breath if we have a typical American lifespan. To quote Oliver Berkman, whose newest book is called that, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, the day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control, when the flood of emails has been contained, when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer, when you're meeting all your obligations at work and in your home life, when nobody's angry with you for missing a deadline or dropping the ball, and when the fully optimized person you've become can turn at long last to the things life is really supposed to be about. Not only will we not fit in all the small things that we might like to do, I doubt very much we can fit in all the big things. Maybe some people have a smaller pile of big things than I do. I don't know, but let's try this. Let's take a little moment here, and in this silence, I want you to reflect on a day you can recall that felt really good because you did not end with a nagging sense of important things left undone. One of those days that you look back and you say, that was a good day. I really did the things that were most important to me, and I rest easy. Let's think about that for a moment. See if you can remember what you did that day and why you felt that way. Now, if you can't think of one, that speaks for itself. If you can, hey, that's a great moment to jot down. What did you do? What were the most important things in your life? Maybe those are the elements you want to be in many, many days. And also, may I ask this? Did all of your big rocks fit into that day? Because here's an example from me. Last Sunday, it was a lovely day. I took a long walk. I got as much exercise as I need for a healthy body. I came to church and I had a couple hours with you all. I spent several happy hours with my family. I played the piano. I made some art. I read. I got enough sleep. No unimportant things cluttered up the day, and I ended it with no regrets. A good day. But did everything fit? No. One of the relationship categories on my calendar is friends and family, but I didn't talk to any friends and family that day except for my wife and daughter, not my mom or dad or sister or any friends. And I was reminded the next day by one of the people I live with that I hadn't done the dishes that were sitting there waiting for me. It was my job that day, and I somehow just missed those. That was an important thing that I didn't get to. And another of the categories that I put there in my planner is, as a reminder, is citizen. And I didn't do anything much as a citizen of a wider community last Sunday. I didn't write postcards to voters or call an official. For that matter, it wasn't even a day that I worked that much, just a few hours, which is far short of the average daily number, which, if I'm honest, is why everything else fit. So maybe this is a little bit of an unfair question. It's not like you have to fit everything in every day, right? It's kind of like good nutrition. It's okay to go a whole day without getting your U.S. recommended daily allowance of vitamin D, just so long as you don't let it go day after day. Okay. So, maybe our most important priorities can be met over the course of several days, say. But still, I don't think it's that simple. I mean, I'm thinking of conversations I've had here at this turning of the school year with some new college students who see that menu of possibilities, the course catalog, hundreds of possibilities for them over just the next 4 years. And after recovering from giddiness and then a sense of being overwhelmed, they have to accept that of this marvelous menu of options, they are going to choose 30 to 40 of them. That's all. That's all that fits in 4 years. Maybe you feel the same about careers. Is there a dream career about which you occasionally think, if I had another lifetime, I'd try that? Because this is a thought that can occur to us even if we are living a dream career. A very satisfied middle manager may think, but it would also have been wonderful to be a child psychologist. He put that big rock in place, but there are others still left on the table. A teacher who has spent as much of her spare time outdoors as possible might think that if only she had another few decades, she would love to have a profession that took her into nature all day, like marine biology or working for a park service. And this is not even to mention the majority of workers who don't have the luxury of choosing a job. A dream job is beyond their wildest dreams. They just do whatever it is to hand that will let them survive. You just can't always fit in everything. No matter how much we prioritize, not everything worthwhile will fit. So we have to do more than prioritize among the rocks we have assembled. We have to take time to reflect on which rocks do we want to have on the table to begin with? What isn't even there that maybe we want to have there? This is a little scary because if we add a rock, we know something else is going to have to move aside or not go into the bucket at all. But look, this is a thought experiment. We're just experimenting here. We're not committed to anything. We're just considering. So consider with me. If you had all the time you needed, what is one thing that you would do that you're not doing right now? Or not doing very much? If you could set aside that gut response, I just can't get around to that right now. If you could set that aside, what would you most want to do this year, this month, tomorrow? If we don't take the time to ask that question and heed its answer, then we're like me playing a time management game. We collect the right bonuses and leave the ones we don't need, and we do the important things first, like building the sawmill and upgrading the quarry, And by working smarter, not harder, we get 3 stars for completing it all and on time. And at the end, we have played a video game. We don't want our lives to be like that. To come to the end and reflect and say, oh, I never thought about what big rock really, really needed to be at the center. And the dominant conversation about time in our culture, it's not going to help us with this reflection. It steers us toward that video game. It's about productivity and planning and efficiency and fitting things in like a carefully interlocked puzzle. And while those processes have their place, they are important, they are so dominant in our way of thinking of time that we hardly know another way. In the wide universe of ways that we could think about our time as the lucky mortals, the lucky clusters of matter who have been granted a human life on this earth. These other ways of thinking about time have worn a rut, and it's hard to get out of a rut. Can we pause? Can we realize we're being steered a certain way and ask the question, what is really most important to me? What is really most important? Not the top priority of the options presented, but maybe another option altogether. Now, this isn't something that can be realigned in a few seconds of silence like I just gave you. We all need more time and space to ask ourselves that question and ask it again and again at various times of our lives. So I hope that that question will stay with you. Most of all, I'd like to leave you with the questions that the poet Mary Oliver asks here, especially at the end of this poem, For a Summer Day, the summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and flies away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last? And too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Moved by gratitude to each other, most weeks when we gather here, we choose to support with whatever financial resources that we can this community that we are creating, and that is creating us. And then once a month, we remember that we are not creating it just together as members of this congregation, but with many, many partners working toward the world we dream about, out in our community. These are our justice partners, and today, as I mentioned, our August justice partner is Ada's Cafe, which helps adults with developmental disabilities in our community, teaching them and letting them be leaders in serving food, in running a business. We're so glad to be working alongside them. So the offering that supports Ada's Cafe will now be given and received. The order of service gives a QR code and link, and also information on how you can use Give Lively to give via text. If you held your own in harmony with Bruce on our previous song, you may want to try another round on Open My Heart. Part 2 comes in after the first singer has sung the first 3 words, Open My Heart. Please join in as Bruce leads us in singing.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be
May the time we have spent together be a blessing, not just today, this morning, but as we go forth into the rest of our lives. To all the people we meet, may we bring the blessings of this hour until we gather again. Lovely, thank you. Please stay after the benediction for our virtual coffee time. You'll be invited to small group conversations in our breakout rooms, or you can stay here in the main Zoom room to discuss the service. Now, please unmute yourself, turn on your video if you haven't already, and touch hands virtually like this while we say our benediction together. Go out into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to what is good. Return no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Rejoice in beauty. Speak love with word and deed. Honor all beings. Amen.